Before today's video starts, I want to take a moment to honor the Tejas pilot we recently lost. At a time when many rushed online with speculation, I chose to wait. Some situations demand facts, not guesses, and respect above everything else. I stayed silent because a life deserves more than speculation. That pilot represented skill, courage, and the spirit behind India's aviation progress, and he deserves a moment of respect before we move forward. India already exported Brahmos to the Philippines, around a $300 million deal. It was good, but honestly, it was modest. What it really did was send a message that a country like the Philippines, facing constant pressure from China, chose to trust an Indian missile. But what it didn't do was spark instant follow-on orders. Countries were interested, they were watching, but they didn't sign anything. Nothing moved immediately. And suddenly now, 2 or more countries have almost wrapped up Brahmos deals worth more than $450 million, and Indonesia is the frontrunner. A full Brahmos package is basically ready, just waiting for the Russian green signal because it's a joint venture. But here's where I get a little more confident this time, and I'm not just going off one article. In my last video, I talked about the $4 billion export of Sukhoi 30 Mki to Armenia. That story had several reputable news sources, and we also discussed what selling those fighters would mean strategically. Still, it was built on published reports, not a confirmed government announcement. This time it's different, because this isn't coming from some defense source or a single news report. This is straight from an official PIB press release, published on October 18, 2025. And in that release, the defense minister himself said that the Brahmos team has signed contracts worth 4,000 crore with 2 countries in just the last 1 month. He even mentioned that going forward, experts from many countries will be visiting the Brahmos facility in Lucknow because the government wants to make that place a major knowledge hub and a leader in defense technology. So when you put that official confirmation together with what we're seeing now, the picture becomes very clear. And I have a theory for that. I think this sudden speed, these multiple deals progressing at the same time, started because of Brahmos' performance during Operation Sindoor. India fired around 15 Brahmos missiles, and not a single one failed. If even one had gone off target or failed to detonate, Pakistan would have shown the debris everywhere. But nothing came out because nothing failed. This is what unlocked its real export potential. And even Pakistan's own prime minister ended up unintentionally marketing Brahmos right in front of his allies like Azerbaijan, Turkey, and even his top generals.
India again launched missile attacks, Brahmos, and hit Pakistan's various provinces, including airport in Rawalpindi and other places.
Countries needed proof. If they invest hundreds of millions, they will know. Does this thing actually work in a real war? Look at the PL-15 India displayed, completely intact, unexploded. That's the difference. Brahmos didn't just perform on paper or in tests. It worked 15-15 in combat. That's what opened the doors. And for Indonesia, this missile fits perfectly. They need it for coastal and maritime defense, especially around the Natuna Islands where China keeps entering their waters. Brahmos gives them speed, precision, and a serious deterrent. Plus, it helps them diversify their defense suppliers and build stronger maritime capability. Now, if one of those 2 countries in the 4,000 crore deals is Indonesia, which seems very likely given how far that negotiation has progressed, then who is the second one? The defense minister also mentioned that experts from many countries will be coming to the Brahmos facility in Lucknow. That means multiple nations are now actively evaluating Brahmos, not just casually showing interest. If we look at the geopolitical map, the first name that makes sense is Vietnam. They've been talking to India about coastal defense systems for years. They face consistent pressure from China in the South China Sea, just like the Philippines and Indonesia. And Vietnam has already shown interest in Brahmos before. They just needed political space and the right timing. And with Vietnam upgrading its coastal missile regiments and India openly strengthening ties with Hanoi, this is the moment where a Brahmos deal would fit perfectly. But Vietnam isn't the only candidate. Countries like Malaysia, Thailand, and even the UAE have shown interest in Brahmos at different times. So, the second contract could be any of them. But if we're talking about the strongest geopolitical logic, Vietnam makes the most sense. And if Indonesia and Vietnam both move ahead, then suddenly Brahmos isn't just an export product, it becomes a regional balancing weapon in Southeast Asia. And that's the true export potential of Brahmos finally being unlocked.